steady progress in our implementation of an interim assessment. And so I just hope to give a good overview along with Jane's help around just from December and to today as we implemented our very first interim assessment over at Forest Glen and Howard. So I'm hoping to just give some background and some context to how that process has been looking. But upon the approval of the interim assessment, a few actual weeks later, we actually had a graduate profile team meeting, which includes about 50 teacher leaders and principals and central office leaders in discussing our progress and our work towards the graduate profile and realizing the vision of that. But a few weeks after the approval of the December board meeting, it was exciting to just sit in the background and kind of observe this meeting because it really truly was a defining moment to me and the team. First off, we had a student, 8th grader from Bayview, Jovita, who came to our meeting to just present to us her presentation from the National History Day, in which she was passionate about the Navajo Indian tribe and some of the tragedy that they faced within their culture. And so she had presented her perspective of that in her presentation. And it wasn't just the presentation that was absolutely amazing. She did a wonderful job coming in, but it was her reflections afterwards that she shared with the graduate team. And so the graduate profile team. She really talked specifically about the strength of the actual task instead of taking a test to show her knowledge of what she's learned about her project. And actually was talking specifically about how she was more motivated and more engaged, that it even dug deeper into her understanding compared to everything that she knows about that content. And so as the team was kind of like listening to her and sitting beside her and really learning about her understanding, it was just very motivating to see how much more we were actually learning about who she was as a graduate approaching graduation, but that also just the excitement around the news I was able to share with the team around this performance task is really just the start of where we want to go to look at progress as a district around the graduate profile. So that really launched us into our work as a team where while sitting at the background and really taking a look, I remember standing to the side with Steve Myers, one of our principals at Bayview, and him just whispering in my ear, wow, this is so memorable. It's memorable because it's where we are headed for our vision around how we really can ensure these skills for our kids, but how we monitor progress and provide them feedback through our work. And so this is a picture of just the teachers digging into the content standards and looking for the connections of the graduate profile and helping to define those competencies. So we have the 7 elements, but what does that mean per element? What does actual collaboration look like? What are the key competencies within that? But then also, how does that look from 12th grade and how does that look in kindergarten? And really having some critical conversations about that. So in that meeting there, we are just sitting back and saying, wow, this is amazing. We're coming up with some great ideas. We're building a structure to the system. And that team being very engaged and excited about the work. And so that's just really exciting. This team of 50 then was then structured in a way that we were able to set up a assessment team per school to dig into the actual creation of the interim assessment. And that was very intentional. Everything that we do throughout that whole process is capacity building, igniting potential in others to see different connections with the content in the graduate profile. It's coaching alongside the teachers and the principals to help develop this assessment. So this is a picture of us actually in the work. This is the assessment team of Forest Glen, Swamico, and Bay Harbor, in which we were digging into a performance task that we selected from Ed Leader 21. I know you've heard about Ed Leader 21 before, but it's a national PLC or professional learning community that has designed common performance assessments around the 21st century skills. So what we did is we analyzed the assessment, we aligned it to the graduate profile, and then we developed rubrics. So that was a really intensive process, but we've learned a lot along the way through that process. So that team, plus we had a Lineville team and all the schools that have been involved in a process like that. But from there, we were able to develop that interim assessment, and we phased into actual acting out the assessment. We went through and we looked at student samples that were created through EdLeader 21 sample students. We also piloted this 3 or 4 years ago, so I had student samples when we did this 3 or 4 years ago. And I facilitated the group in calibrating the scoring of student samples. And through that, we had critical conversations of what does it really look like to assess critical thinking? What are we seeing in this student work sample? What we weren't able to do here is really take a look at collaboration and communication and those other skills that we are not able to see through student samples. So we had discussion about that and really looking at the rubrics within that. But this also sparks our next steps as a team, which is once we implement, then it's really talking about data analysis protocols. How does this really impact the classroom and impact our instruction as leaders and educators? So Jane was able to actually collect a couple of the insights from our teachers and our principals and even some kids related to the actual process. So I just gave a really quick overview. It's obviously a lot of detail that I wasn't able to share, but I think the perspective of our educators and principals is really good. So do you want to share a little bit about
Yes.
Okay.
This one was in your packet, so I don't need to read to you. Nikki Eichholt is a teacher at Meadowbrook, 4th grade, was part of the process. And she talked a lot about the dialogue around the skills we were assessing and just the discourse between educators on what we see and the rubrics and how will this play out and some of those logistical things. One of the things she spoke to is, how is it going to capture what students need to know and be able to do, which is the question we're always coming back to. And Chris Harrison was actually part of our team today and shared some really insightful thoughts that I didn't want to not include. So this wasn't included in your packet, but she talked about how it helps her as a teacher knowing how to assess. How can I assess to see all facets of learning? And she talked about yes, we're doing it as an assessment now, but it's going to be helping them with their further work as they develop that kind of thing as business as usual. It won't be an event, it'll be ongoing, and it'll grow them within their learning communities around what kids need to know and be able to do. How do we build a task that shows that? The other thing she talked about that it really hit home with me is, she said this is so engaging and it's real world stuff. And she said, we have a hard time putting a pencil paper task in a multiple choice format, getting kids to show us their real world connections. And we actually were part of that today. And we took video and we watched kids and we captured so many things. And the big thing for me was watching how all learners on different levels were engaged today. And how it worked, how they worked collaboratively. That was probably, because we do a random sample, not to get in the weeds on the details, but the kids that come together have to figure all of these profile features out. And Chris said, it was just to see them so engaged in a task that the students really, it wasn't contrived to the point that they wouldn't have to do this somewhere along or be asked for this kind of input in their daily activities. Ryan captured it beautifully, said it's all about wanting to know, is what we're teaching our students sticking? Are they able to carry it out on a daily basis with their peers? And he said it's going to allow us to make substantial progress in addressing some of our professional learning communities, because when our teachers get together to do the hard work of carrying out at the grade level the curriculum, it's that PLC connection that makes their work, I don't want to say easier, but they share the load. And if they are all around those questions of what do they need to know and be able to do, and how do we know that they know it? So our performance tests allow us to do those things.
Yeah, and just again, coming back to where we're at right now. So right now we're implementing and we're collecting data and we're having calibration meetings and discussing the data. But our next steps, which I think is one of the most important steps, is bringing those teams back together and talking about what is it that kids need to know and be able to do, and then how do we know they know it, and actually digging deeper into that. So it's just one of the most powerful things we can do as an organization, especially when thinking about having conversations with Ryan Wellness and really talking school improvement planning and things like that, where we really know and have a deep understanding of those skills. So today, as I shared, we had our first performance assessment implementation, and it was just so energizing for me to just see all the smiles on the face, the kids running in and saying, "Mrs. Waldo, I'm so excited about this." I actually had one student email me and ask me specific details about the task and how, we were redesigning a classroom, and so he's like, what are the dimensions and all of this, and so, all of these things. So it was just really cute. But these were things we could not observe on a multiple choice question. I wish you guys could have been sitting. We do have video, but it was just absolutely amazing. So these were just two moments in time where I was just like, wow, we are doing the right work. We are really looking at the right things. So this was one group of fourth graders where when we talk about we're assessing all kids, these are all kids in our district. It's a random sampling, but yet a really good representation. And what was amazing was to see kids who come from different classrooms yet can adapt to their environment. They can become leaders, which we can't see that within a multiple choice. So I was just thinking in the back of my mind as I was watching the kids, I'm like, wow. They know what collaboration is. I was asking them a little bit about the qualities and things like that, but what I was able to see, you couldn't see that on a multiple choice assessment. So it was just amazing. And here you see, this is how close we're sitting with the kids. So when we think about assessment, it's sitting beside the kids. It's listening to them. It's really understanding where they're coming from and seeing them in action. So this was really exciting work today. And then I just thought this was really cute. Ryan sent me this, and he just said, "Excuse me, Mr. Wellness." This is a student that he did a lunch launch with, and the student was just saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Wellness, I need you to be aware of something. Just so you know, this group of fourth graders are at Swamico is going to crush this assessment." And that's not typically what you get because I also was proctoring forward assessment, and it wasn't exactly the same approach or enthusiasm around the assessment. And actually today, as I was leaving Howard with another group of students, the little girl ran up to me, she was like, "Are you coming every Monday to do these things with us?" And I'm like, "Not every Monday, but I hope to be here more often." So I think the most rewarding thing is just seeing the kids so excited and just really showcasing who they really are. So it was just a really great experience.
And so when we look at the performance assessment and we hear comments from the teachers, principals, and students, and the difference in what that's like when you sit beside and you listen and you ask questions and you really learn what's going on inside of their heads, it's better for students, it's better for educators, and it's better for us in terms of monitoring the progress. When we have data that is valid, reliable, fair, engaging and motivating, and relevant. When students participate in learning that excites them, we get a more accurate result of what's happening. So that phase one is where we're in right now, so that data will be used for the monitoring reports that we report out next fall. Phase two, Amanda mentioned the continuum that we're working on, and so continuing to develop that continuum, and then it's building capacity of people in that continuum, and so we'll be implementing more with that next year. And then phase three is where we're really trying to get to that complete system where the excitement that kids had for doing this is how they're learning on a regular basis, and they can be excited and they feel like it's relevant and they see how they're going to use it. And so that's where we are in terms of the long term. Okay. So together is better. Once again, we're working through this together, and you know, wanting to have multiple sources of data that really, bring that ownership out in students and in teachers in the learning and get us to a place where, we can have students leave our doors with those 7 characteristics of the grad profile, the best that they can be, and, continue working.
So I was excited, I don't know if everyone had a chance to read this National School Board Association report that they had referenced it before the meeting, but had it in the packet prior to the linkage with business leaders, and gave them some context for where my head at. It just was really gratifying to see almost a one-to-one correlation between the qualities or skills that were selected by this commission and those that we've developed here within the district. So again, I hope you found, and certainly our business partners found, relevance and application there, that we're not working at cross purposes, right, with the same goals. So, questions, comments, wonderments?
I read with eagerness all of the articles and highlighted everything that was very relevant. The accumulation of data, you talk about data dashboards in here. Are you that far yet in how do you organize all the data for students?
So as we develop more of these types of assessments and more of that happens, and students own that learning and students develop goals for that, what we would like to do is to have an electronic portfolio system that students actually create and provide data for. Also ways that we can take other data that we collected and have that available so that it's accessible to the student, accessible to the parent, accessible to the teacher, investigating those types of projects that are out there.
Right answer.
Just started.
Do not underestimate the energy and commitment needed to individualize a system of assessments. A lot of energy here. I appreciate it. As a former educator, I appreciate it. Future clearly lies in integrated data systems that provide insight to the individual students and simultaneously facilitate continuous organizational improvement. Thank you. We're on the right track. I'm a little excited.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that, Gary. That was really the big takeaway for us, is like, oh, wow, tell me this could be better, just to, provide affirmation. Not that we needed it, but it's always nice to have, right? Because frankly speaking, it's easy just to do it the old way, right? Because we can rank, sort, and measure pretty methodically, and yet, I don't know how he feels about them in Crawford. I don't think that's really exciting. I don't think students are going to say we're going to crush this state assessment, right? So, curious to hear your thoughts. Yeah, you've probably been getting bits and pieces of this over the last year.
This is really exciting for me. I'm a little bit jealous that I'll be able to see it and put it into my own learning every single day into the classrooms full time. But just from some of the classes that I'm in that do focus a lot on individualized learning and graduate profile, I get so much more out of it than some of the other classes, and so it will be really, really exciting to see how it is across the board for students.
I'm excited for your sister.
I am.
Other questions? Amanda, you referred to building a structure, and so I was curious about the structure in terms of the professional development. I'm certain that there's a lot built into this, but what we're asking is a big change, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So when I talk about that graduate profile team, and I talk about we're always constantly building leaders around the vision of the graduate profile. So really, there's several different layers of capacity building. Ultimately, the overall plan to realize the vision is being developed right now around how can we really ensure that all have a guaranteed and viable curriculum as teachers to implement components of the graduate profile. But when you look at the graduate profile team, that's about 50 leaders within the district that we're really highly focused on right now intensely in building capacity and really helping them see the vision. They're building the tools, and within that team then is really then expanding that out to the building level. So then I talked a little bit about how we expanded that team out into building level leadership teams. We kind of call them the assessment leadership team. So at every building then, we actually have, you know, teachers, principal, central office working together to really try to understand the graduate profile. So every step of the way that we go, we're constantly building leaders and confidence in that graduate profile. So then ultimately we have a strong leadership team to then take it to the next level through graduate profile goals and actions, and especially through that school improvement planning process. So it's really got to flow through every single level of influence along our leaders in the district. So I think that's going to be a super powerful piece, is having teachers like Nikki and Chris, who we heard about today, and principals like Ryan, who are really digging deep into this right now and helping lead it as a team and co-facilitate. How do we really realize our vision together as a team for HSSD?
So the 50 that you talk about is administrators and staff and support staff. It's a wide variety.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we even have, you know, different specialty areas. So we have ELA, math, science, because it's really thinking about that team through the content. PD is also going to be very strong in our curriculum team development. So it's really talking about, you know, right now we're developing essentials in mathematics with, I would have to say, probably close to 60 teachers who are not all on the graduate profile team, and I'm building capacity there as well. So we're talking about essentials and aligning it to graduate profile. Graduate profile is our North Star in all curriculum development. So as we meet with different curriculum development teams, they're getting PD as well and building capacity and leadership in that area.
So relatedly, is what you're asking about now, is Mark to kind of elaborate on this, is critical goal area 3, supporting personal and professional development evaluation. We haven't really gotten there yet. We're just in the early stages of researching and taking a look at what are best practices in this field. It used to be, you know, get your graduate degree and, you know, you're golden, but the research doesn't support that the attainment of a graduate, as important as that is, and I'm not dismissing that, it doesn't necessarily correlate with better instructional performance or better student achievement at the classroom level. So we're kind of just, you know, mad on Comp 2020. We've got this window of opportunity for the next year or two related to the attainment of the master's degree. But then we're looking at what does it look like to personalize the professional development as well. So maybe at a high level with no guarantees, you know, based upon what Mark is going to say, we can give you a little bit of, you know, preview of kind of our best thinking right now in this area.
Yeah, well, I think our strategy has been, let's really dive deep around the graduate profile and get the characteristics and bring the board around. And then next step really is how do we create a framework around how we deliver that, how do we instruct, how do we facilitate that. So then all of that leads into ultimately how are we going to support our people to continue to learn, to go deeper with that, implement it, keep it refreshed, keep it refined. Both macro level things we're looking at, like how do we really revamp our PD evaluation system. You heard some students say, and I'd say teachers would say similar concepts. Our evaluation system that we have is a requirement, you know, through the Department of Public Instruction. It's good, and yet I think one of the things we struggle with is how do we really make it personal for teachers? How do they find value in a framework? So we're researching models out there, you know, up to and including potentially submitting our own evaluation model to the state for approval. So that's large concept when you think about that. Additionally, really, how do we create our systems within our professional learning days? So one of the things we modified this year, instead of doing the half days, we were able to build in full days for next calendar year. So giving time and space for teachers to really go deeper with the learning. Part of what we're looking at doing from that elementary scheduling change, same thing. You heard us present earlier, how do we give time and space for the teachers to handle it? It is significant deep learning. We believe with principals and leadership teams that we can support them through that process. Over the course of time. This isn't going to happen.
Well,
and,
yeah.
That's Gary's quote from the article, it's time and energy. You know, so as much as I'd like to say it'll be done at, at the end of this year and the next year, that's really the captain 3 to 5
Yeah.
positions in this area, so. And then having the discipline and the intentionality to stay the course,
Yes.
as other things attempt to distract us from the goal. That's always, right, the challenge. And so we're really kind of, from an internal accountability standpoint, kind of pushing hard on each other just to stay focused on a few things, go deep and do that as well, so.
We know it's the right work when the teachers know it's hard, but they want to do it. And it's worth investing in. And yet, so how do we continue to pace it, support them? I'm amazed by the amount that our teachers take on in this organization and just keep going.
Well, that brings me to my next question. So, I always ask it. So the staff is buying into this, is that, that's what I'm hearing all of you say, the staff
I
level.
wanted you to see those staff quotes specifically, those thought leaders who are really leading the work, and it's side by side, and so I think, to steal a quote from Bill Dagan, it's top-down support from bottom-up performing, right? So really, our job to cast a big vision and then mobilize staff around the thought partner process for creating it. So it takes time and energy. It's harder and slower, but it'll sustain itself over time because we've got a lot of people involved in the work. And so I love how Amanda talked about the process we're using to bring it to scale throughout the organization. It's more time intensive though, but it'll have the real possibility of sticking because we're big thinking and small stepping in the process. So.
Right. Any other questions? Great.
Thank you. We want to call out Jane. It's her birthday tonight. She's sharing.
No group I'd rather spend my birthday with.
Big share of her being here celebrating.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Appreciate all you're doing. Let's move towards our workshop and move on to increasing our community conversation. I want to thank everybody for putting your notes in. I did because I had to keep my notes because doing the notes.
I took them for you.
I know, I did that. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Dana.
So, it was great. It was a great evening. It really was. But I'm curious to hear what everybody else has to say.
I think there were 3 major takeaways. Number 1, what can we as a district, the schools do to reinforce employment skills? And certainly the profile of a graduate will be the foundation, the self